Fast forward. I'm going to quickly talk about the picks again. In this kind of game, I picked last. I highly suggest picking Huskar last or fourth. Um, in this particular game, I also recommend picking him when you know that they have a solo offlaner. You can deal with being pressured in lane, but it is ideal when they have a solo offlaner. The first ones that come to mind are Clockwork, Tidehunter, and Timbersaw. He just wins against melee heroes that are solo offlaners, and it's just his ideal matchup that creates a really good game for him. They have no physical damage dealers, so I pick Huskar. I know I'm against a solo Tidehunter, so I decide to go boots first. As I mentioned earlier, that is my build to go against melee offlaners. Always secure the rune. That's something you do on every hero, but that's what I start the game off as Huskar. You're pretty survivable with boots. Sometimes I've had games where I do this, and you actually get really low health from contesting the rune. But you usually don't die just when you have boots. I mean, 350 move speed's pretty strong. So as I was going to talk about prior to my DC, the way to win your lane as Huskar is the fact that Burning Spears is not a unique attack modifier, but indeed, since it is an orb, does not attract creep aggro when you use it manually. If you have it on autocast and you A-click the guy, it will attract, but if you don't, you can walk straight at the guy and start harassing him, and then creeps won't attack you. That's a huge way to win your lane, and that's the key to winning it as Huskar. So right from the get-go on Tidehunter, I emphasize being aggressive. I get a right-click in right there, and I immediately posture aggressively so that he can't come up and hit the creeps. Because of your low base damage, I do miss a last hit there, but because of your low base damage, instead of trying to contest 4 last hits, the best way to do it is simply make it so they can't get last hits. This is completely worth sacrificing last hits in the early game, meaning like missing like that one or another one, maybe 2 or 3 of them, and that'll shut down the offlaner and it'll just spur you ahead so that you'll be able to get almost every last hit later on. So every time he walks up, I will be harassing him. See, it's a 1v1 lane that I am basically free farming, and then he walks up. This is what the boots allow you to do. I only got in the amount of right clicks I got in because of the boots. The flaming spears will do the damage for you, so I don't prioritize getting as much damage. I prioritize being able to right click the guy or being able to A click the guy. So that's why I bought the boots. Lets you get in a couple extra right clicks, and it makes it so heroes like Clockwork can't easily cog you. Heroes like Tidehunter cannot easily anchor smash you, etc. So I've pretty easily established my lane dominance. If you look at last hits here between me and him, I'm 11-2 and he's 1-0 with the one gush he got on the first one. So I continue to play aggressively. The lane is pushed, and ideally if you do have a support in this kind of scenario, they would have pulled. So like the lane would come back to you. And you playing aggressively at the start, pushing the lane is perfectly fine. But if you're 1v1, it's okay to play aggressively and push the lane because you're 1v1. So you're not expected to, completely zone the guy out entirely, right? He's basically a 1v1 matchup. So right away, I do always rush Armlet. Sometimes I'll buy a magic wand, which I'll talk about later. But in solo v solo like this, I always rush Armlet. See the amount of trading I'm doing, and see how much I'm getting out of this lane, and it's like costing me health, but I know I'm safe in this lane, so I'm willing to trade like that. And the whole point being is that the only debate you have when you're with your armlet is what components to build first. So when I buy boots, I'm low on regen, low on armor. So about 90% of the time, I will buy the Helm of the Iron Will first. Simply because Flaming Spear or Burning Spears cost health, right? So even if you're not technically getting harassed by them, if you're harassing them, you're taking damage. So just giving yourself a little bit of sustain is really nice early on. And if you're a 1v1 matchup, you should be able to get enough farm that like you shouldn't have to need damage. You shouldn't have to need like attack speed or anything for last hit. You'll just dominate last hits like by harassing him. So you'll just want to focus on that being your point of focus. So the major thing that nobody seems to do that I've emphasized a lot on my stream is getting at level 4 that value point and heal. The reasoning behind this is the difference between level 1 and level 2 passive is very minimal. It's 2 attack speed per stack, and it's 1% magic resistance. From 4 to 5%, like that's really not that big of a deal, especially the reason when it gets a big deal is when you get to your max passive, because your max passive means at low health you actually have like 1% like you take 1% damage compared to like 14%. So that's a pretty big math gap. But at this low a health or at this low a level, it's not that big a deal. And you'll see here, it's actually going to pay off that this extra point in heal, it's a base regen of 10. In the early game, that's pretty good. So with 5% plus 10 plus 20% when I'm hurt, I'm probably going to get about 15 regen, right? That's a pretty big deal early game for surviving, for manning up, whatever have you. So I've already established my dominance in lane. This should happen every time you're against a solo offlaner. This should just be how the lane goes. So every time he walks up, see, he's going to man up on me here. This heal really pays off. It allows me to be aggressive. Would he have killed me without that? Probably. Would I have played like that if I didn't have my heal? Probably not. But the point is the heal allows me to play like that. So basically, I mean, I'm legioning 20 health per second, you know? That's pretty massive early on. So I trade with him, and I'm perfectly fine trading with him because I know that I'm dominating the lane already, and I'll get my health. And he actually dies. I forgot that he died. People underestimate Huskar very heavily in lane, and they'll man up on you like that, and you'll be surprised how many times they'll do it. Especially even in my tier, right? Like this guy may be 4K player, but it's still my tier of Dota that is much higher than not the average. So now that I've established dominance in lane, I'm gonna fast forward here. If I don't need the other two components, I will just fly myself the recipe first, just to speed up when I get my armlet. So as Huskar, in this scenario, I have a free tower to push because there's nobody here. But if you don't have your armlet yet, I almost always prioritize playing safely, trying to pull the lane back, with pulling the big camp, whatever have you, because when you don't have an armlet, you're still really vulnerable to dying, to ganks, whatever the way they're going to try to kill you, ganks, mid-ganking, supports ganking you, TPs in, whatever it is. You're still very vulnerable, so if I didn't have a free push right here, I would not be pushing tower. I highly prioritize playing safely, because if you get enough ahead as Huskar, towers will just happen, and you'll see that when it does. So the minute you get your armlet, you are a completely different hero. There are two phases of the game where you are vulnerable. The first one is the laning stage for all the reasons I talked about. The second one is right when you get your armlet. Your armlet is, I mean, I'd say it's a survivable Midas. I talk about Midases on heroes, things that let you farm. The minute you get your armlet, turn on your flaming spears automatically, autocast, instantly, no questions asked. If you are not low health, you are not farming efficiently. On this hero, you get up to 14 stacks, and up to 14 stacks, I mean, like even 5 stacks, that's 88 attack speed. I mean, try Rage on Lifesteal or try Fervor on Troll. You know how much of a difference it makes to have that much attack speed. And I already hit for 126 damage. I compare getting a Huskar armlet to getting like a Drought ultimate. Like you just suddenly go from hitting from kittens to really hard and really fast, just like I like it. So Kappa, that is what the approach you need to immediately take when you get your armlet. Secondly, when I get to level 3 Flaming Spears, a lot of refinement has come to this skill build, but now it's basically every game for me. The minute I get level 3 Flaming Spears, I leave it there and start maxing my passive, simply because of what I talked about, that if you have max passive and you have low health, you are now take 1% damage compared to 14% damage. I think it's maybe 17% damage. Either way, it's a significant difference. And so I had the level from 3 to 4 is 15 to 20. And if you do the math, like from level 1 to 2, that's double. But if you really think about innate regen and 1 or 2 on each hero in magic resistance, that goes from that 5 damage is actually like 2 or 3, and that 10 damage is like 7 or 8. So it's really like triple or quadrupling your damage. And then level 2 or level 3 of this passive, going from 10 to 15, instead of 8, it's like 13, right? So you're all of a sudden going, or 12 or 13 instead of 7 or 8. So you're suddenly increasing another 50%, but here it's only going to about 16 or 15 once you max it, after all resistances and regen and all that stuff. It's actually going to like 13. And then it's actually about 11 when it's, I don't know what I'm talking about. I had this math earlier. It's about 11 at level 3, about 13 or 14 at level 4. So the big deal about it is that it's really big percentage growth up until this point, and then it's basically negligible to level 4. You still max it after passive, but I consider passive much more important. So here I am, getting myself low health. You'll notice that once you have an armlet and flaming spears, you will get yourself really low really quick. That's just how it works. So right here I have a really dominant lane, so I will use my armlet to push the tower. And you'll see here that I do something really stupid. I didn't think he'd be able to anchor smash me, and I got anchor smashed and died. It is physical damage. That's the kind of stupid shit that even as a Huskar player of my caliber that I consider, you'll still do dumb shit. And that's the kind of stuff where playing aggressively is how you learn, and that's my recommendation for how you play. I mean, that was just a really dumb death. So we're just going to fast forward. That shit happens all the time as Huskar. Like, those are the dumb deaths. Like, this is the hero that it happens on. So right back into business as usual, though. Leaving my armlet on. I don't want health. I want to be low. I want to farm fast, and farming fast means attacking fast. So, and leaving spears on. So I'm pushing the lane back in because I'm not getting messed with. I see 2 bottom. I know Tidehunter can't really kill me. That was a fluke. That should not be something I'm scared of. That was me being bad, not because of the situation of the game. So here I push the tower. You're going to see the value point and heal pay off here. I man up on him. He thinks he can man up on me. The heal, I would have died to those creeps without the heal. It's really hard to armlet toggle early on when you're to creeps because your armor is low enough that creeps will kill you between armlet toggles. Later on, you'll have enough armor that they actually won't kill you. But right there, if I did not have my heal, I would have died to creeps. So I take the tower. My next build, I used to go treads first, and sometimes I still will, but I tend to like to go morbid, and this is why. If you don't go morbid right now, and you go do jungle camps, you have to kite them and to armlet toggle. But if you have morbid, you can kill every camp unless it's stacked just by hitting it and using the lifesteal as sustain, and then you'll be able to back off, as you'll see in a second here. So I buy the morbid, buy a TP, so I can be ready to help my team. I do not help my team. My goal on Huskar, the ideal game, is to farm for about 10 minutes, and that will be delayed if you have a bad start. But yeah, farm for about 10 minutes, get your core items up, and then like take map control entirely and aid in your team. So that pull right there was really crucial. I'm going to rewind that. After you push the tower as any hero, but I mean any hero in general, but it's nice as Huskar, is to pull this big camp. On Radiant, you can just pull the little one into the big one, or in the medium one, to pull the lane back to your side of the map. It makes it so that you can farm your lane still. It makes it so that they have to come out if they want to farm it, and it sets up stuff about like what's about to happen here. So this Earthshaker's farming his lane. If those creeps had kept going, this may have still happened, but the fact that like he's still hitting this catapult and the creeps aren't there yet makes like it really does make a difference in the long run. Maybe not this particular scenario, but I immediately play aggressive. I saw the tiny bottom. I'm not concerned about dying. And those are the kind of plays I'm willing to make to learn, but those are the kind of plays you'll understand in the near future that you can make. So I end up getting ganked here. I man up on the Tide because I'm like, oh, this guy just thinks he can do this shit again. He's dumb. And I end up dying to a gank, and this is like worst case scenario, though. I end up killing the Tide. Like, this is worst case scenario. I man up and kill the Tide. These are the kind of deaths that you really have to avoid, and I'm trying to show you that even as a player who's played Huskar a bunch, they still happen, and you should try to not be... Like, if you play like a pussy, you're not learning Huskar, and you're not going to be able to play him to the max potential. So we're going to go and fast forward here. I finished the Helm. I will be going into Treads next. I did not want to be Bloodseeker's perspective. So I'm back top farming, pushing the lane out. Losing all my health, dunking a creep even to lose health. And now I go back to the jungle. This is where it's really crucial that you understand efficiency in Huskar. The way you are efficient with Huskar is by finishing creeps with flaming spears. And that one I actually did not do it properly, but I believe I do it next camp. It's kind of like with Lone Druid, how you walk away with your hero as your bear's killing the creeps. See how I leave these creeps at like low health, and then I just walk away? Yeah, this is the kind of stuff where every 3 seconds you save with Huskar is... I mean, it just adds up for a hero that doesn't tend to farm fast. If I do not have lifesteal, I will not use flaming spears on golems because it's just not worth it. I'll have to back up because I'm using them. But if I have lifesteal, I don't really care. But this is when I crank up the farm mode, meaning like this just shows how fast you farm with Huskar with an armlet. And you don't have to back away from the camps. I didn't get to show you that you had to back away from the camps if you don't have lifesteal, but because I have lifesteal, you see that I don't have to kite the camps. So here this is something I'm going to emphasize many times as Huskar, and this is what I'm going to show here. The freaking pause is sick. I'm going to help my team here, but the minute I go on somebody or I'm going to engage, I always pop my heal first. That's like crucial. In any scenario. For this particular one, I'm about to dunk a guy and man fight him, so I'm turning my armor on. It's turning my heal on. That's like really important every single time. So basically, he tries to kill the Shadow Fiend. He ends up dying for it. Really good kill. I get my treads, and immediately I just start playing aggressively. I now have max passive, max spears. I'm not at any concern about dying. Like, if they had a Queen of Pain, I could not be sitting at this kind of health and just be doing whatever I want. But they have nothing that can burst me down from this health. It may seem like, oh, you're at 400 health with an armlet on, but there's nothing that can burst me down. So then I'm willing to play super aggressive. I see this guy walk out of tower range, so I immediately dunk him. Turn my heal on the second I can again when I get out of here. Okay, I swear I turned my heal on. There we go. Yeah. So I turn my heal on when I see the guy that's ready to go on me. I knew they didn't have any gap closers because of Storm Spirit. But now I'm going to play super aggressively on this guy as well. He thinks he can man up on me. I apply all the Flaming Spears, run away from him the minute that I know I have to armlet toggle. So like right there, if I had stayed for one more attack, if you notice here, look, if I stay for one more attack from him and the tower, this is when it's getting dangerous, right? So I stay for that one, like I take this attack, take that attack from the tower, and I immediately back away. So now, this is the key to armlet toggling, is knowing what's your threat. I know he can't right-click me, so my only concern is the tower. So I'm timing my armlet toggle around the tower. Just like I did there. Get another kill. Run away. Immediately tread switch, turn my heal on, and walk away. With any threat of, I know it's only the Storm Spear left, but that's like something that's just good to practice. If there's any other hero coming behind me, I want my heal on if they start disabling me. It's really important to the difference in surviving or not. So as I've shown you, immediately establish your dominance as Huskar. You do a ton of damage to towers. You attack really fast, and I hit for like 160 with the armlet on. So you take control of the map. You're going to see the same story happen in every game, regardless of the situation. It just depends on when it happens. Everything with Huskar depends on how the game's going. So you see this tiny go on me. I don't even have my armlet on. I didn't tread switch. Like, don't worry about tread switching when you're getting killed like this. I immediately heal, turn my armlet on, man up, and he dies too. Even when I was under tower, taking tower shots, a tiny in the mid game could not do shit. If that doesn't show you that Huskar basically wins in the draft, if properly picked, then I don't know what else would show you. My next focus I'm going to show is that I do not level my ulti past 1 until every other ability is maxed. I prioritize it higher than stats, but I do not prioritize it higher than your heal. Most importantly, your duration on your heal is 16 seconds. So when you go from level 1 to 2, the downtime goes from 6 to 2. Effectively, cuts the downtime of your heal in 1/3. So I highly emphasize that it's important at level 11 because it is such a long level to have 2 points in heal. So the minute that you win a fight, some people be like, hey, you have an armlet, can't you just go Roche? My opinion on Roshing as Huskar is that you don't do it until they can't F with you. Meaning that if they come and F with you, they should die. And that usually encompasses telling your team to help you. It doesn't always, but having your team nearby. Just having the right items. I usually recommend these being the right items, especially if you're snowballing. Sometimes it's a bit more, but in general, it's like you take a good fight. Either their ultimates are down or something. They do have their ultimates still, but all these scenarios, you want to make it so they can't contest you, and if they do, they die for it. That's like the emphasis I have on Roche, because if you go into Roche and try on a snowballing hero and you die because they contest you and you're vulnerable to them to contesting you, that's like game throwing, potentially. So the key to Roche, it's pretty simple, but I do have somebody tanking here, but you always stand right here in the pit, and if you have lifesteal and an armlet and a helm, you will be able to simply stand there, and when Roche leaves, like even if he bashes you, all RNG aside, I've done the math, I've done it, you just don't die if you toggle properly, that when he backs off, you toggle, and when he comes back towards you, you toggle back on. I have somebody tanking for me here, so it's like a little bit different, but it's the same concept, and you'll see it in other games on stream. So we take Roche, and this is like, so this is like where Huskar really ramps up as a hero. I know I said about 10 to 12 minutes of farm, even though I've been farming most of this game. I've been pretty active, right? Like I've been around the map in mid. I've died twice, and I still have 87 CS at 12 minutes, and I've been a part of 9 kills. It just goes to show how fast you can farm, and like the potential that this hero has. So this is something that one thing to talk about why Helm is better than something like Vlad's is that I haven't found one yet, but it's really good for wolves and for ice armor creeps. I consider it really valuable if they have high physical damage to get the ice armor creep. It basically puts you at 31 armor. like, okay, we're gonna say 21 because I'm gonna assume I don't have the plate mail yet. It would put me at 21 armor plus an attack speed slow on myself if I have the ice armor at 12 minutes. It's pretty reasonable to have Tread's Armlet Helm at 12 minutes. Um, so even if I'm not snowballing. So I also think that the Wolf is very good because it just gives you a hero that already has decent physical damage even more. Makes him really hard. It's really good for pushing towers, especially after you get the Roche. Especially good for taking the Roche. The movement speed creep is okay as well, but I definitely recommend those two creeps as the highest priority, and that's on you to decide. If they have 5 physical damage, I prioritize the defensive one. If they don't, then I prioritize the Wolf. Sometimes I'll still take the Wolf if I can't find the Ice Armor creep. It's a low cooldown on Helm. So the minute you get Roche, like, I don't even have my whole team here. I just know I'm invincible. Like, and that's something you just have to understand as Huskar, and you'll get a gauge for it by playing. So minute we get Roche, just take all the towers. And the minute that I'm in vision, like last time I said when I was going on somebody, I pop my heal, but every time now when I'm pushing towers, if you notice, I'm always healing myself in front of the tower. I do not want to get initiated on without my heal on. That is crucial. Like, I mean, that is one of the most important things as Huskar. There's a game on my stream the other day where I was like mid-animation of heal. I knew I was in danger, and I got like pulled by a storm the minute, like the mid-animation of heal. I didn't get my heal off, and I died barely. And I would not have died if I didn't. And the crucial thing about Huskar is if you're sitting at low health, then you're dealing a shit ton of damage, and your heal is kind of meant to keep you there. Based on how it works with the fact that you get a lot more heal when you are below 40%. So here we go. I'm just going to continue here. I'll talk about the item build in a second. So we keep pushing towers. Take all the map control after you get this Aegis. It's almost impossible to kill me once, let alone twice. As you can see here, they tried to go on me underneath tower with Wave of Terror while I was taking tower damage. Could not kill me. All this stuff, like in terms of dunking people, is kind of irrelevant. But like they just can't touch me. I'm invincible right now. So I'm underneath their tower. So this is going to show how strong Huskar is. Yes, my teammates were out of position. They did not need to be up there, like straight up. I'm okay with dying right here because I know they can't kill me twice. I had no mana to heal, which is not ideal. But so you're going to see them chase after me in a dirge. I was begging this dirge to lay his tombstone. You're going to see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and play this in regular time. So they go ahead and try to kill us with 5v2. As you can see here, I heal myself the minute I can. Man up, back up to kite them into the tomb. You don't always just man up. It's really good to kite them, especially with armlet toggling. They man up versus 5v2, and I kill them all, and then we continue our base push. I'm basically unkillable at this point, and I'm emphasizing that from about the 15-minute mark or so, or 12-minute mark to about the 30-minute mark, Huskar is, in my opinion, the strongest hero in Dota. If he has a good game, meaning like the other team is not good versus Huskar. So the story continues. We continue the push. I do not care that I do not have an Aegis. They are all dead with no ultimates. I end up dying here. I thought I could finish the tower. I miscalculated. That was my bad. The only time you'll really die in the mid-game is to towers. I treat it like Bristleback. I just learned this the other day, but Bristleback's passive doesn't work on towers, thus making him vulnerable particularly to towers. It's different why you're vulnerable, but Huskar in particular is only vulnerable to physical damage if you pick him against a lineup that doesn't have much. The only things that's going to deal damage is towers. So it's really crucial that you do not get initiated on when towers are hitting you, and when avoidable, because they will supply the damage needed to kill you. If that tower wasn't there, I promise you I do not die right there. So on my next part of my build, whenever I'm against low physical damage lineups with a hero that doesn't particularly hit hard yet, like a Tiny will hit hard later, but he doesn't hit hard right now, I just build armor. The crucial thing I'm going to talk about with items is that it is essential that you understand how to build Huskar. When you play a hero like Huskar, who based... you have to think about it as like other heroes that are considered tanky, right? It's okay to build heart. It's okay to just build health. Like they just want to be tanky, but Huskar gets tankier as he gets lower health. So instead of like looking at it like percentage-wise, instead of looking at it as I want more max health, the way you want to look at Huskar is I want to have more valuable health. I want my health to be efficient. So that being said, that is almost always armor. Armor, evasion, BKB, stuff like that is insanely important on Huskar. The items I will never have you build on Huskar, ever, Okay, like these are build items you will never build. Anything that gives raw health. Bloodstone, like some people have argued Bloodstone for the healing. So Bloodstone, Octarine Core, Heart. Never in my life have I built a heart on Huskar since I've been decent at Dota. Maybe a long time ago, but I have not built a single heart on Huskar. It is not good at all. On a hero that doesn't want to be full health, why would you get an item that regens you to full health? Damage items. Until the very late game, the only damage item, like, okay, even in the very late game, the only damage item I think is viable on Huskar is an MKB. And that's simply to deal with mischance and evasion. I believe Daedalus is an item you should never buy. And I believe that if it doesn't supply you with armor, evasion, or lifesteal, it is not a good item. So, like, why would you ever build hard over Satanic? Satanic promotes you staying at the same health as long as you're attacking. That's the kind of stuff that you have to think about. Like, those items are just so bad on Huskar. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward. I did die there. Minor setback. Stupid decision making. I mean, it really comes down to a miscalculation of that much. For some reason, it's not letting me click on the tower from the player's perspective. So when I say that, my item build in a lineup where they don't have much physical damage is always a Soul Cuirass. Like, if they had, like, one particular hero, say they had a Juggernaut, like a very one specific hero that hits really hard, or a TA, I will usually go Helm into Halberd just to disable that one hero from hitting me. I'm not as much concerned about my armor. I'm concerned about that one hero hitting me. Because most heroes don't do enough damage with a BKB and no other items. So if you have a halberd, they'll either have to build a BKB and not do enough damage, or not build a BKB and not even be able to hit you. So same thing here. Back to farming. There's really no rush in this kind of game. However, they do take a team fight down below. I just got my AC. This is the kind of game where my usual game plan is if I'm not snowballing. I'm particularly snowballing pretty hard in this game, even with 3 deaths. But the general plan is to, like, use that first Roche to, like, take all their outer tier towers, at least most of them, and then farm up, wait for the next Roche, force the fight at Roche because it's really hard to fight into a Huskar no matter what your heroes are, and then rinse and repeat, but now push their base. That's basically how you do it, and that's why most games with my Huskar, even at the professional level, end around the 25 to 30 minute mark, because the first Roche happens around 10 to 15, and the next Roche happens between 20 and 25, and then you just end it on that second Roche. And even if the game doesn't particularly end, it will end, you know. So for some reason I forgot I didn't have sound on. I didn't particularly care for sound right now, but I will turn it on a little bit. Just because it's actually bothering me. So we take a really good fight. There's really nothing to learn from that fight. Just know that it's a good fight. So the first thing we do off this fight is we just immediately go back to pushing their base. That fight in particular, like, I showed up late, like, my team only needed me to help clean up. People question me about the item of Greaves. I do view Greaves as a really decent item on Huskar, but if you play him simply, I mean, from the attack speed, noticeable difference. Tread's AC is about the same cost, a little bit more expensive, but overall, you do so much more damage to towers and to heroes with Tread's AC than you do with Greaves, and you usually want to have somebody else build the mech. Like, you can go Greaves in competitive when it's much more coordinated, but you don't particularly need the mana as long as you have like 1 pair of mana boots. Even Tread switching is pretty decent, and you just do so much more damage to towers. And usually as Huskar, if you're the 1 position, you're gonna be the only tower damage dealer. In this case, I have an SF, but in general and like competitive and stuff, you'll be the only tower damage dealer. So this was what makes you deal damage. So here we are pushing their high ground. I'm willing to dunk in. I really don't. I just don't care. In this kind of scenario, you just got to understand when you're basically invincible. I did not know he had a blade mail, but I ended up dunking in. As you'll see here, I'm willing to initiate, push them off, bully them away. Even if I wasn't to kill them here, the main purpose was to push them away so we could push the buildings. Constantly healing myself. Can't emphasize that enough. So, I mean, straight put, they can't even engage into us. I mean, this is what Huskar does. You can't even engage. And bullying them away from the racks is really important. Like, not letting them hit. If they walk up like that, don't let them hit you. Like, push them away. Like, you gotta remember, even though you're basically invincible, the way to lose as Huskar is let them kill your entire team. So the Bloodseeker's retarded. So here we go. Back, you know, back through the motions, pushing all their outer tier towers. I look to go Halberd next, simply just for the evasion tankiness, and, you know, planning on if the game ever does go late, the only person that will hit hard is Tiny. You're going to see here that I get... Okay, so we're going to rewind. I'm just trying to portray, again, how tanky Huskar is with armor. This is all I have is armor. All I have. I have 26 armor at 20 minutes. So I get swapped in to their tower. I am Wave of Teared. I get swapped. I'm getting hit by a tower. I am medallioned. I get my heal off. I man up on the guy that's not blade mailing. And I just don't die. And that's what makes Huskar effective. The fact that I hit pretty hard with my armlet on. I'll hit for about 200. And with AC and Flaming Spears combined with that, you can't be ignored. So your goal is to make them try to focus you, and you'll learn on your own how aggressive you can be and like how forceful you can be, like basically forceful and how making them engage on you, and how forceful you can be without dying. And that's like the main thing you'll learn playing Huskar. Blade Mail is not really a counter to Huskar. It's really important to check people's items. If they buy a Blade Mail, you simply never dunk them unless it's down. And if they try to go on you, make sure you don't have auto attack on this hero, because it's really hard to cancel with the passive because you attack so fast. But yeah, that's the first game. That is a general stomp on Huskar. Ends about 21 minutes. The way it works with Huskar, like I said, the timings are all about the same. It's about an average of like 12-minute Roches and 25-minute long games, and the games will just be sped up or slowed down based on how much you feed and how much you snowball. So like if you snowball, they'll be sped up, and if you feed, they will slow down. So I have another recent game here. My next game is going to be portrayed as a game of Huskar